Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to day 2 of our exploration of Inuzuma. We're going to visit a cat here named Kaiser. It's quite unique. This cat is quite popular among Genshin players. It's really cute. If you're a cat owner, you love cats, you probably already know Kaiser. When you try to make it talk and say meow, it's not going to follow you. You know, as typical cats, they're very independent. When you look into the name of Kaiser, which is actually an old German word which means emperor, which, kind of matches the character of a cat. And this cat likes to follow an NPC here named Kirisu, which his real name, he's from Fontaine. He's right here on the right. His name is Christopher. And Christopher, its etymology is a follower of Christ, a bearer of Christ. So interestingly, during the Holy Roman Empire, when it converted from the regular Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire, its first emperor, Charlemagne, and the succeeding emperors of that started calling themselves Kaisers. So it's interesting that here a cat named Kaiser likes to follow a Christopher. I don't know if the developers made them. It's just an interesting thing I found out about the name of that cat and the NPC it likes to follow in the same way that the Holy Roman Empire and its emperors followed Christianity. This cat also tends to follow a guy named after that religion. I think this is just something interesting for me. I'm here on top of these roofs. Roof climbing is, I think, most Genshin players like to do, me included. I'd always like to see a beautiful vantage point of the game. To this particular roof, I tried to climb. If I have I have Zhongli. Maybe if I had, I could have had, but you just couldn't. But I think climbing roofs like Batman or Spider-Man just really gives you a beautiful view of the land in Genshin, especially this island in Rito. This the first island you encounter is such a beautiful view. There are two NPCs here. One is Ting Ting, and I'm not gonna spam. I'm gonna read what he says. What if he insists on staying? Is something troubling you? I'm a researcher from Live. My dream is to travel around the world and visit the world. So maybe you've already seen this for those, but frankly, in my case, and again, one reason why I made this video is I miss the dialogue of this NPC, this lady, and then the guy. Where what happens is she's a researcher. She went to Inuzuma. She likes to travel the world, and she fell in love with a guy who, one of the first people whom she met there and guided her. If you remember, when you started here in Inuzuma, it's closed because of the decree. Most likely because of the Shogun, right? Eventually it opened and now she could explore, and now eventually she knows at some point she has to leave the island and travel other parts of the world, and she's thinking whether she should stay there, whether the guy would go with her. And the guy here, I'm gonna talk to him as well. He is in the same dilemma. Yeah, Tasano, yeah, that's his name. And he's a native of Inuzuma. His family's there, and he's obviously in love with the girl. And just from this dialogue, you can already know he's gonna follow the girl, because he says he's gonna regret if he doesn't. Interestingly, a lot of the NPCs here that you're gonna encounter, these two, always are in a state of dilemma. Should I or should I not? Should I maintain the life I have right now, or should I change and try something? Which is a very interesting thing, because that's the theme of the main quest in Inuzuma. The Raiden Shogun wanted to maintain eternity to avoid change, but at the same time she gets to realize that you can't do that, that the actual permanent thing is change itself. And yet that thread runs through most of the NPCs, especially in this main island. As you talk to them, they always have this thing that they hesitate to do. I think I love that point, because I feel it means the developers and the writers of the game put thought into tying up the theme of the main quest of the Inuzuma quest with the lives of the NPCs. I saw this food shop before, and yeah, look at that, man. I love cooking in Genshin, and it's just a very cute food stall here. If it's real problem, I go there and sit down. So I just really went down here and sit down. Yeah. So this lady, if you talk to her, Ryoko, she has an interesting story. Again, it's the same. she, if you already don't know, I'm gonna spoil it. That this is the food soul of her husband, and he wanted to im- change the world, impress the world, reach out to people through his food. And unfortunately, he died. And even though his wife, she wasn't really into the business at the beginning, but in memory of her husband, now she took over. If you approach this NPC the first time, she will actually, how can I say, yeah, give you something, which I'm not gonna spoil if you haven't done though. You can actually buy something from her, which I did, and even though I can't actually eat the food, it feels like you want to eat it, and I think that's something I want to comment about the cooking system in Genshin. I've always loved cooking here. My only problem is when you start cooking, you put the bottles, the unchopped vegetables into the pot, and then it just spoils. I mean, the sense of realism goes out of the window. So I feel like the devs gave up. What's wrong with them? I mean, look at that, right? I mean, the realism of that is, it's piping hot. You could, yeah, here you could buy that. You could buy 2 recipes here as well, which I did. The dry braised salted fish, man, and an egg roll. God, I'm hungry now. 'Cause I make these recordings at night, so I'm often hungry after this. But yeah, I mean, for those who've seen Danzameshi, and then camp cooking skills in another world. I forget the name of the title. There's a lot of cooking anime recently, and there's a lot of praise for the realism of the chopping of the vegetables. You don't get to have that here. It would have been good. So if Mihoyo could hear this, please overhaul the cooking system and make it realistic. I'd like going to this back part of the island of Rito, and there's a lot of open space here actually, and I feel that's one reason I love the region of Inuzuma. I've stayed here the longest among the many regions. In I still do my daily quests here. Until today, many years later. There's something about the quiet beauty of Inuzuma that just really touches you. Yeah, that NPC Robert you get to see later what I mean a while ago by having NPCs going through a sense of dilemma and decision making, but they don't know whether they should undergo some change or not. I tried to talk to these 2 NPCs, but for some reason I don't know what they're doing there. Yes, here I tried to enter this courtyard. This is the Outlanders Affairs Agency. Yeah, before you have to get permission to enter the island to roam around. In fact, if I remember it properly, without getting the necessary permit, which the corrupt officials then would charge you 2 million mora, which like I don't have the money, but eventually we get to pay 600 because of Thoma. I tried to ring this bell. Yeah, see, that's why I'm slashing it, but no, too bad. So yeah, sometimes I feel like I mean the devs and the writers of the game, the designers, they really go all out in trying to add some realism and a touch of just beauty and art in the game, allowing it to interact with. But some parts I feel like I don't know, they just gave up or didn't want to. Like that bell, it would have been nice if you could clang it. It's just a bell, but I feel like that would add to the lifelikeness of the game. This is Eureka, and so yeah, this is you could talk about her about the permit and the handling fee. I don't know if I could remember that because I haven't done the quest for quite a while now. I can't remember really what the handling fee was, but yeah, I like talking to NPCs in this re-exploration, not just of Inuzuma, later also, and really just paying attention and reading the dialogue, and it's just going into what they say and how they tie up. Because I feel like in a rush of doing quests, in a rush of doing, getting primo gems, even me, I'm guilty of that. That you just rush through the dialogue. Okay, speed reading, like okay, I get that. I try to pay attention to this design, and I feel like, is it Japanese or is it like a clock, or an arrow? I saw that upper roof part of this building, and as I've said, because I am trying to explore this place, I tried my best to climb that. And for those who have tried to walk on narrow ledges, which is this one. It I frustratingly fell many times, and I actually I hesitate to include that in this video because I feel like, oh god, right? Are we going? Am I going to frustrate uh the viewers of Genshin, by going through this? But somehow I feel I wanted to. And eventually I did not remove it. It's still here. You can see it there. I tried to climb it, walk it, and keep falling again and again, because I feel this one good quality of RPGs, which I think MMORPGs, fighting games, don't have. It's just because the whole world is an exploration. Every every area there is a point of exploration, a puzzle, a challenge that you're supposed to overcome. Even though it's not outright a puzzle, I mean, walking on the ledge, climbing on the roof, that's something I want to try. That's not a puzzle made by the game, but you try to take on the challenge, and so which eventually I did. But unfortunately, I can't climb the top. I think there's got to be a way to do that using, I think, the Zhongli's power, and the traveler's power as well, if you're using the earth element. But I didn't want to change, to do that. I just tried, okay, if I can just do it on my own. Can I climb over there? I think I'll just come back later to do that. But I think that's the essence of RPGs. And I think one good thing I love about Genshin is that you're allowed to literally go anywhere you wish, even though it has no connection to what you're doing right now, or there's no chest there. Just for the fact that you wish to explore there. And that is something I feel that there's this conversation of what's the end game for Genshin. What's going to be the ending? What's going to be the closing scenario? We don't know. This is a gacha game. It's earning literally billions of dollars, and I doubt they would close this game anytime soon, or if ever. But I do hope, though, that now that Genshin is extremely profitable, that the devs, the writers would just go back and just add deeper into the storytelling element in the lore of the game, because there's just so many things here that I feel like players could explore about the flora, the fauna, everything, the structure of the game that could be added more story or meaning. I think that's one thing that many players complain, that you can't redo quests, because some quests are actually really quite meaningful. Yeah, going back here to Robert. So he's here. He says that he wants to shut up. Sorry, shut up. Set up shop in Rito, and he's from Mondstadt, and he's thinking of going back there, or whether just staying here. Now things have changed in Inuzuma, and so he's thinking like, what should I do with my life? And again, when I met this NPC and that couple a while ago, Sasano and Ting Ting, it dawned on me that if players spend time interacting with the NPCs, the developers and the writers would already telling us that yes, that's what Inuzuma is. That is the heart of the struggle in this land, on how to maintain the kind of life you want to have, but at the same time learning how to be more open to new possibilities. I tried to explore this fruit stand, and if there are any NPCs I could talk to, nobody. I tried to look into this. I don't know what this is actually. And I'm guessing these are obviously lamps, but I've never seen anyone pick that up and light it up. Yeah, the lamps are here on the side. One of the things I love about Inuzuma when I first came here is the architecture of the buildings. I've never been to Japan. Obviously, from how much I love this region, I love Japanese culture in the areas of architecture, art, and especially 90% of it is anime. I mean, my exposure to Japanese culture is anime, and I'd like to say probably a big chunk of the player base of Genshin's exposure to Japanese culture has been through animation, Japanese anime. And yeah, here, look at this building. I've never been to Japan, but even though Genshin is just a game, that sense of feeling that I went to Japan and saw these beautiful buildings, these beautiful gardens, well kept gardens. It's just a very cathartic experience for me. And like I've said, I feel like most players should just just literally drop what they're doing, just go out explore, and I think there are players already doing that. However, I feel it's not really the main thing for many of us, because the rush, the need to save primo gems to pull for characters is, I'd like to admit, even for me, is very addictive, very compelling. That there's this always voice in your head, later when I have time, later when I'm done to this. But I mean, look at that sky. Is that the Milky Way? I mean, look at that mountain. I mean, what a beautiful constellation. I've said this. I don't know where I said it before, but privately in my thoughts, if I would, if I could die and be reborn, I would. Yeah, I said this in my earlier videos. I would want to be reborn in Genshin, simply because of the fact that its world is such a beautiful world. In the anime, isekai being hit by truck kun, that running joke. Uh, you know, there's a lot of people watching anime. Another isekai, please. Tell another story. But I think that the concept there is attractive, because look at this. Look at Genshin. Look at the harbor, the mysterious sea. That's where you came from. It's probably, I think, Liyue in Mondstadt. It's just breathtaking. It just takes your breath away, and then you feel like it's a game. I'm the one controlling this character, but wow, the beauty I'm seeing is just beyond what I could imagine. And see here, when you move through the grass sways, which I always feel that it's interesting, because longtime players have always been criticized, not just Genshin, of any other game, like stop that, go out and touch grass, because you're just sitting in front of the computer for too long. But interestingly, I am touching grass, not just outside, but just inside the game. So I'm done exploring this part. There's nothing really much to see here, but I just really wanted to pay attention to the design of the place and appreciate how beautiful the architecture. Look at the sand over there. And here, if you remember later, that lady over there, Chisato, she is one of the earlier NPC quests that you're going to do. You would have to do in Inuzuma. I'm spoiling a lot here. I'm talking to old time players. If you're a new player and you've reached this point of the video, get out. I'm not. Inuzuma's been out for a while, so I'm guessing if you're really new, you wouldn't want to hear this. She was supposed to get married, and I was surprised that her quest is a romantic one, because I think most of the quests I encountered here in Genshin, especially during the earlier days, well, fantasy type, as fight evil, more do good, more find this item and this and that, explore the world. But this was about getting married, and so I was like, oh wow, Inuzuma is taking this from from a different angle. But again, like what I've said, if there's anything that's more life changing to a person, that would alter their lives, I think one of them definitely would be at the top rank, would be getting married. And here the NPC has to struggle with that because of her duties. I'm not gonna go into detail, but again, again that's the running theme of the Inuzuma NPCs and the land here, is to maintaining the life that you want, and and dealing with the changes that come along. And I love that, because I think that's something we all handle with. If you've read the book Who Moved My Cheese, it's a popular self-help book. I've read it once, didn't read it again because I felt like the guy could have written this in a piece of paper, that once the current situation you're doing with has changed, the target, the motivation of your heart, your mind, should move on to the next more tangible thing. Don't let your emotions linger to something that's not there anymore, or else you're gonna be stagnant. And I think that's something I learned about playing the Inuzuma quest line, and talking and interacting with the NPCs here, that sometimes in life we can't get what we want in the timing that we want. We might be able to get it again later, but I think letting our emotions clamp down to that void or space or emotion that that tries to cling to something that's not there anymore, prevents us, steals the opportunity for us to recapture that thing that we lost in another time, in another opportunity in the future. because we're still there, even though the thing that we want is not there anymore. I think we all of us could relate to that. Maybe a relationship that failed, a career that didn't push through, a degree that you wanted to get. Um, I think we've all had that kind of feeling, and so I think here in Genshin, this kinds of life lesson that you pick up along the way surprises you because again, when I was a kid, I started playing, with the Famicom from Nintendo, Adventure Island. Games then were like, okay, you're bored or you want to play something challenging, with the computer, play that. But you never really think that. Look at that, flying leaves, but looking at the mystery of the moon, and then man, the dance of Eula, fantastic, amazing. There's a sense of art, philosophy, and meaning in playing games these days, and I'm just so happy that I lived long enough to see that. And this is not just Genshin. I mean, for me, my number one game of all time would be The Witcher. It's all right. I want to end my long meandering conversation here of talking about this inner and earlier entry to Inuzuma, because we're gonna be entering there, that inner part of the island, and there's some things to talk about there too. But I'm gonna end it here. We're gonna talk about it more. Thanks for listening, and then if you're still up until this video, I totally appreciate it. See you in the next video.